Hi, namaste. This is Deepa. So in this video, I'm going to talk about human rights issue with regards to the asylum seekers and refugees in Australia. So as this is one of the most burning and very serious issue in Australia, where border restrictions policies are too strict and people who seek asylums has to go through a long process. So initially they start their journey from the detention center, where they have limited resources. They go through various assessments, and some of them ended up being deported back to a country as well. And some of them they able to get their visas, their permanent residency in Australia, but still they struggle to resettle in the Australian community, and they suffer various kinds of discrimination and mental health issues. Now, before going deep into it, let's discuss a bit more about how International Human Rights Commission defines asylum's right. So, according to the International Human Rights Commission, everyone has asylum seeking right. They should be free from persecution regardless of how and what country they come. It is legal to seek asylum, and this right is protected in international law and guaranteed by Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Refugees Convention as well. So the Human Rights Commission has played a very vital role in protecting and raising awarenesses of this fundamental right. So this right is protected in international law and guaranteed by Universal Declaration. So they really actively engage in order to secure, in order to ensure the right that are given to all human beings are being followed or not. So, which includes investigate complaints, conduct inquiries, reporting on the immigration detention center. Before discussing deeply about asylum seekers, let's discuss a bit more about who are asylum seekers and what are the human rights obligation in Australia towards asylum seekers and refugees. So, asylum seekers are those people who fled from their home country because their life is in danger due to race, religion, nationality, membership, or association with particular groups, because of their distinct beliefs, political opinions. So they apply for protection visa as a refugee in other country, so that they can have a secured life where they can live freely, where without any fear and discrimination. And this is included if in Australian Human Rights Commission as well. You can visit the website. So as a part of United Nations Commission on Human Rights, Australia has guaranteed provide protection visa who has met the United Nations definition of refugee. They will not sent back to their country where their life freedom would be in danger, which is known as non-refoulement. However, while doing research, I found out many cases where asylum seekers are not given permanent residence to stay in Australia, or they deported back to their country against their will. And in most of the cases, they really don't get visa. And then, so now I would like to share you a very realistic case of Qayyum. He is from Afghanistan. So there was a video on YouTube. It was posted by Australian public broadcast ABC service, where he has shared his stories. He arrived in Australia as a student visa a decade ago and applied for protection visa. He is on bridging visa. As a result, he couldn't be able to pursue his career in his related field. And he has no access to Medicare. He cannot buy a house or he cannot extend his business. And then he is really very away from security that the government provides. So as he was constantly asking questions, seeking for advice, seeking for help, and he was involved there. So if we see another case, there was a case from from a man from Sri Lanka. He was from a coastal village. His name is Jayan. So he came to Australia by boat so that he could earn more and lead a better life. But however, he sent back to his country. So as in present time, Sri Lanka is going through a lot of economic crisis, inflation. There are so many issues, and if we just look back at the Australian High Commission's obligations, if we go through that, we can see where there is a real risk of violation of certain human rights under the International Covenant on Human and Political Rights. So Human Rights Commission in Australia, they guaranteed they give protections to those whose rights are being violated back their country. So if we see this scenario, Jayan, so he really has a valid reason, as he wanted to stay in Australia, but he couldn't settle because he was sent back to his country. So this is really unfortunate for him. So however, there are a lot of immigration detention center asylum seekers. People come to this place in order to get a good life, but they ended up being disappointed, either being mentally tortured. Even if they get visa, they couldn't get a well settled life here because of discrimination and language barrier and many other factors are there. And so these are the scenarios that are prevalent in present time in Australia. So if we talk about the strategies for social worker, so being a social worker student, I would prefer to follow certain approaches that are really suitable for refugee and asylum seeker cases. So I would prefer to go with human right based approach. So where human rights approach can be very useful to apply the core principles of human rights into everyday practice. So as this approach has been applied to social policy analysis, social investment, social work, research, community practice, and clinical social work practice as well. So if we apply this human right based practice approach, it help us to provide a better service to the client. So if we even focus on person-centered approach, we would be able to give a very effective service so that the person can be supported from financially, socially, and mentally, from all aspects. So if we, and then we also, as person-centered approach, values persons self-power, self-effectiveness. So recognizing all these things will help us to assist them in a much better way. So while doing it, we need to ensure the confidentiality as well. So while engaging with the client, we need to explain the concept of confidentiality and obligations that are obliged to keep information approval. So confidentiality will be said in special circumstances only, when we need to say it with our supervisor, if the client or is the immediate threat to the identifiable person. So and then while doing, we will be providing certain kinds of legal assistance as well, so that they can be able to use those services, and then which will be able to help for their assessment to get a permanent residency in Australia. So moreover, uh, we can even able to help them to connect in the community and with available resources. There are numerous resources are available, including healthcare, housing, education, finding employment, community support services, interpreters, and translators. So these services are available for refugees and asylum seekers. And being a social worker, we can connect to these services to them, so that they can benefit more and they can have an easy and helpful life here in Australia. So I have included some of references in references list as well. Okay, so this is all about my video. Thank you so much.